many people. Most people watch uh, in the moment, but this is another impromptu live stream. I didn't warn anybody that this was happening, so we're going to wait a few minutes to see if anyone shows up or not. So it might be a little slow here for just a second. Let me make sure I've got the chat up. Can you just type a message and see if I'm trying something different on the chat? Hey, Travis, how you doing? Thank you. All right, so what I'm doing right now isn't showing me the chat. All right, let me go do it the old-fashioned way. Hey, Ken. No, this is a real chat. I'm sorry, we're just completely impromptu. I just decided I wanted to pontificate about the year in review, and I didn't warn anybody, so I'm just kind of going slow for just a few minutes to let some people catch up, and I'm going to get the chat up, and then we'll get started because there's 6 of you here. Hey, Palmetto, what's up, ugly? Ugh, that's so mean. Just petty. Okay. Streaming through the ball drop. I don't think I'll be here that long. Of course, that's only 2 hours away. All right. So I was just sitting here earlier tonight thinking it's been a really good year. They've all been good years lately, though. It's been a long time since I've had a bad year. I can't even think of the last really bad year I had. But Palmetto's trying to fix a dishwasher. Okay, so Palmetto paratroopers have a. What's wrong with your wife? Why you got to fix her? You should just accept her the way she is, Palmetto. Don't try to fix her. That's God's job. You just love her, brother. Hey, Isaac, Happy New Year. Isaac's trying to fix the dishwasher. You leave that wife of yours alone. She's just fine the way she is. Happy New Year, you filthy animals. Can't stay tonight. Okay, thank you, Isaac. We appreciate you dropping in, brother. So, yeah, I just wanted to have a quick live stream, kind of express my gratitude for the year and sort of my hopes for the next year. Not really going to be a whole lot of. Her machine is broken. She wants it to drain or something. Yeah, the way that works is she just takes the pot of water and throws it out the back door. It ain't broken. That's just how it works. So that's kind of it. Just wanted to stop in and say hi and maybe, like I said, kind of just thank God for the good year we've had and the good year we hope to have. This is not a beard or bearded, but still, what we're drinking tonight is dragon's milk. A bourbon barrel aged stout. I used to think it was a milk stout, but it's not. It's just a regular stout. Ungrateful peasant appears to know how to fix your. Oh yeah, Palmetto. Ooh, that's good. Ooh, Palmetto Paratrooper has had a very good year. He had a baby this year. They bought a house and I think are initiating a move to be. Ernest traded in his sten for a BOF. That Isaac, is that not a hysterical clip? What a lot of people don't know about Ernest. Yeah, most people who know Ernest goes to camp, and Ernest Goes to Camp was actually one of his weakest movies. There's a few that are worse. I just found a new one tonight that I have never seen before. It's on YouTube, so the kids and I will probably watch it maybe tomorrow night or something. I don't know, but it's Ernest Rides Again, which I haven't seen, and we just watched the first. Hey, shalom, Mr. Rambo. Yeah, yeah, that's kind of what we're just talking about tonight, Pete. Just kind of being grateful for the year past and looking forward to the blessings we'll have in the year ahead. Uh, but we watched the first episode, or the first episode. Listen to me. The first scene in this Ernest Rides Again movie, and it's it's pretty classic Ernest. It looks like it's going to be really really good. But people who don't know Ernest think they just think uh, Ernest Goes to Camp, which, like I said, is one of his weakest movies. Ernest Saves Christmas is worse. Ernest in the Army. Ernest in the Army is weird. Uh, and then there's another. Ernest Goes to Africa has its moments, but it's not great. But Ernest, the character Ernest, actually got his start doing commercials. Uh, Back in the early days of cable television, back in the late '70s, early '80s, cable TV was this regional thing, and there were a lot of businesses that were very regionally focused, dairies, and all this stuff. He did a lot. He did a lot of commercials for regional dairies back in the day. But a bunch of different stuff, newscast, this character just did commercials for businesses, for news, for charities, car dealers, and they're absolutely hysterical. Some of the funniest stuff he's ever done are these commercials, his early commercials. Uh, God, dog. Oh, that's awful. Ugh. Can you throw her out of here? That's disgusting. Uh, Cadet, go on. You're going outside. Go. Good girl. Get out of here. You two, no, you're going too. Go. You're bothering me. I can't focus. Sorry, everybody. Cadet, go. Hey, get.
Out. No, no, no. Out. Out. No. Out.
Excuse me, folks. I've got to go remind a dog who's boss. Hey, here, go. Get. Oh, so sorry about that. All right, we're back. Anyway, so if you ever get a chance, go watch Ernest commercials for his early stuff, and then go find Ernest's family album, and that's actually some of his absolute funniest work. Ernest Ernest's family album, and not everything in that is gold, but some of it is just die laughing funny. I mean, die laughing funny. Uh, the Davy Whirl bit where he's he plays all of his ancestors characters, and one of them is a Davy Crockett character, Davy Whirl, and that's some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen. And then he plays a one of the pilots at the King Kong who shot King Kong off of the Empire State Building, and that's some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen. So anyway, Ken says he's traded in Ernest for Trunk Monkey. I don't know what that means. By the way, the chat just disconnected. You're going to spoil it. Okay, sorry, Ten Tigers, I won't spoil it. But yeah, watch Ernest's family album, and then, like I said, some of those commercials. I mean, they're just hysterical, witty and well acted, well written, and just bitingly funny. Okay, so what are some of the things I'm thankful for from this last year? It's more of the same. It's a testament to how good my life is that nothing changed and it's all really, really, really good. Did we have any big changes this year? We had the grandbaby. Okay. That'd be the big one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right at the beginning.
Yeah, I had a granddaughter right at the beginning of this last year, which it's my second grandchild, but it's the first one I'm able to have a relationship with. I'm estranged from my oldest daughter who has my grandson. So I'll have to look up Trunk Monkey. I'm not familiar with him. So I've had a grandson now for going on 5 years, but I've never met him. So he's my grandson. He's real to me, but he's not a. It's just been very very sweet to now have this granddaughter, uh, and then to watch my this one daughter, oh yeah, and that daughter got married this year. So the daughter who had the granddaughter got married, and she married a good man, and they're starting their home, and they got their first place, and it's just very very sweet and very encouraging to see, especially in this day and age when you know no one's getting married and everyone's living in their parents' house till they're 50, and hey, Anarchy Television's here. So if nothing else this happened this year except for that, it would have been a really 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 good year. But yeah, we had the grandbaby. We had the one daughter get married. What else? That was the big thing. But everything else, it stayed the same, and life is so good that that's an incredible blessing. Uh, Made a little bit less money this year than last year. I'm not sure why, because there wasn't any change in my employment or anything. I didn't work any fewer hours, but for whatever reason, we made a little less money than last year. But we made enough money. We made the money we needed. Let's see. When did we get that cow? Was that this year or the year before?
The year before.
Oh well. So we didn't get the cow this year. Oh, we had the puppies this year. So the one of the dogs I just threw out of here had a litter of puppies with the other dog I just threw out of here. Uh, so that was kind of fun. We dispersed all those out to good homes, and we kept one because the dog. So this is something we can look forward to the year ahead. The dogs you all have seen in the videos, the big white shaggy one. I don't use his name on the channel because I don't want people knowing his name and acting like they're his friend or something. But he might not make it to this next year. He's looking. Hey, Keith is here. Hey, Keith, I've been meaning to text you. Are you going to be at the retreat in January? Uh, so that's something to look forward to. This, the dog who's been on the channel from the beginning. I think he was in the very first video, if I remember correctly. I feel like he walked in and put his big old shaggy head in. He might not be with us next year this time. We'll see. He's starting to really. What kind of puppies, Anarchy? He's just having a hard time getting up, and he's moving real stiff, and he's maybe not eating as good as he used to. He's still fight like crazy, but unless there's something to fight, now he's just dragging. So we'll see. He might not be with us next year. That's why we kept one of those puppies from that litter, because we figured, we'd like to have a puppy out of him. You're not permitted to attend retreats? All right, Keith, I'll have to call you, and we got to talk about. I haven't heard about this. I thought the whole thing was that you were going to be attending the retreats. You just weren't going to be on the forum anymore. So we made a bunch of progress on the homestead this year. A bunch of progress on the homestead. Some of the progress doesn't look like progress right at first. A lot of it looks like trees laying on the ground. But trees laying on the ground is progress. So I've opened up a. I'm gonna give myself. I'm prone to exaggeration and hyperbole, and I'm going to give myself license to exaggerate and be hyperbolic. I've probably opened up a quarter acre right below the house. Might be a little less than a quarter acre. but it's not much less than a quarter acre. And that's, like Palmetto said, land clearing, because I need more grass to feed this stupid cow. And then, so we got some trees planted, like he was saying. I've got some apple trees down in the basement right now trying to root. I was at a house back in the summer doing a job, and there was this scraggly old apple tree in the front of this house that was just covered over in hundreds of apples. I mean, I've never seen a tree this small covered over in that many apples. I mean, it wasn't tiny. It was a good sized tree, but it wasn't some towering, 40-foot apple tree. It was probably only 20 foot tall. And it had more apples on it than any tree I've ever seen in my life. So I actually was back at that house within the last month doing a follow-up. And I went ahead and took a bunch of cuttings off of the tree. And I should almost run back by there and get some more. Happy New Year, Boeing Sandwich. Because I was hoping to be able to try to root a dozen or more. I actually ended up only with, I called Nick over at Homegrown Liberty, because trees, that's his big thing. He knows trees. He knows everything there is to know about trees. He's an arborist. I think he's an arborist. We'd have to ask him about that. I don't know if he's officially an arborist. Hey, Les, Happy New Year. And so I called Nick, and he's really, really, really generous with his knowledge. I feel a little bad asking him, to do his job for free. It would be different if I could be a help to him. If I was a bigger channel than him, and I could potentially push business his way, I wouldn't mind asking him for help. But he's much bigger than I am, much, much, much bigger than I am. So for him to take time out of his, his day to do his job for me for free is very kind of him. But he told me what to get and what to do, and I did most of what he said. He wanted me to put them in the refrigerator, but we've got 10 people in this house, and our refrigerator is just full. So I put them in the. Hey, Pete, I just got that message. I will, Pete. That's fun. There's all these back channels going on. I'm trying to keep all the juggle. But anywho, so instead of putting the trees in the refrigerator, there's this powder. You put them down in this powder, rooting powder, and it's supposed to have these enzymes or something in it that encourages them to sprout roots. So I've got 4 of them in a bucket with rooting powder, and I just filled the bucket with sawdust. So maybe I should go back and put some potting soil or something on top of it. But it's it's an old sawdust. You're not supposed to use fresh sawdust. Hey, Benjamin. You're not supposed to use fresh sawdust, because when it first starts breaking down, it burns nitrogen. It uses nitrogen in the breaking down. But once sawdust has been broken down for a while, and this stuff's been sitting for probably 2 years, my understanding is it's a really good fertilizer. But maybe I need to put some potting soil on top. So right now I got 4 of them in rooting powder and pushed down in this bucket with sawdust, and I'm trying to keep the sawdust moist. So I'm hoping Les is trying to help you out there, baby. He wants me to get you a second refrigerator. She fell asleep over there. I must be being boring. That's why we've only got 15 people in the chat. It's fine. It's okay. That's what this is about. This is just about talking to our people for a minute. So I've got them underneath the house in the root cellar, which for a while was really good because it was so cold. Now this next week it's supposed to warm up to it's going to be in the 70s one day. So I'm worried that they're going to, they need to go dormant for a while, I guess, to set these roots. So I don't know. We'll see. It might not work, but considering that they were free except for some rooting powder, but I didn't even use hardly any of the rooting powder. I've still got the whole bottle to use. Uh, so it's not like the experiment's going to cost me anything. And if I get some apples, so that house where that tree was is about an hour and 20 minutes away from here, and it's farther south and at a lower elevation. So it's probably 200 or 300 feet, maybe 400 feet lower elevation, and like I said, about an hour and 20 minutes south. So, but we actually have, hey, big country, West Virginia. How about that? Haven't seen you guys in a long time. I need to go check y'all's channel, see what y'all are up to. Or no, I'm thinking. Is that who I'm thinking of? I think it was Big Country, West Virginia. They had a homestead channel, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe they got pretty big. Anywho, uh, where was I? Oh, even though we're at a higher elevation and farther north, we actually have more milder weather because we're on the east side of the Appalachians. And so everything that hits us, everything comes from the west and it hits those mountains and it jumps, you know. And so it either hits those mountains and dissipates or it jumps and goes over the top of us and comes down on the other side. And on top of being on the east side of the mountains, we're actually up in a big country. Then did you have a video that went really big? I feel like there was like trespassers or something. I may be misremembering something.
Oh, that's somebody else.
Oh, that was somebody else. Okay, I apologize, Big Country. It's a similar name. But hey, y'all go check out Big Country, West Virginia, and see what he's got to offer over there. West Virginia is a state I'd actually like to spend some time in. Where was I? Oh, so even inside being on the east side of that whole mountain range like we are, we're actually up inside this harbor, this cove, where the mountains wrap around us, and they're just open to the southeast. But we're completely sheltered on three sides, basically, from the south all the way back up around to the north, and it's just to the southeast that we're open. So when any weather that comes hits those mountains and either gets broken up or it bounces over us and goes around, and I mean, it's insane how, hey, Mark, how well protected this little area we live in is weather-wise. Even the county that borders us it's funny. If there's bad winter weather, they'll have snow up there, and like the snow stops at the county line. It's the craziest thing. You'll be because that's a higher elevation even than us. We're kind of right above the foot of the mountains. So I don't want to give too much information here, but basically if you were coming from the east and coming from the flatlands, the low country, and you hit the Appalachians and you'd say, oh, that's the Appalachians, and you just go up the Appalachians just a little bit, like you're not even a quarter of the way up. That's kind of like right where we're at. It's just perfect. And then there's this, like I said, this kind of a valley that opens up and around, and we're just sheltered from all the worst weather. We don't get tornadoes. We get some winds in the spring, but even that's not as bad as you would think. Anyway, a holler. Yeah, it's a holler. Yeah, it's a holler. The wife's side clean sand works great for new rooting. The wife said clean sand works for for new rooting. Okay, thank you, Les. Tell Sharon I said I appreciate that. Clean sands, like would that be like place sand? There's this whole conversation going on here. I can't keep up with. I need to. I can't go mute that conversation though because I'm in this other app. So I apologize. This is a little disjointed. But anywho, I'll have to look into that sand thing. Oh, the other thing I want to do this year, tree related. Google Maps won't be able to find you anyway. Actually, Mark, you could ride down my road, and you could go ride all the way down to the end of my road and still not see my house. But anywho, like I could almost give you my address, and you still might not be able to find the place. I want to plant. So I want to plant. I'm hoping those apple trees will root for this year. I'm hoping I can plant them maybe this spring. I planted the trees Nick had given us, the hybrid poplar and the hybrid willow. I only had one of the hybrid poplars that lived. There was a second one that might be alive, so I planted them both, but I'm pretty sure only one of them's alive. And then I think there were 5 hybrid willows that lived. And so I've got all those planted out there, and I'm hoping they'll make it, or we'll see. If not, I will. I'll quit being cheap and buy Appalachians. Yep, Appalachia. Nick's website is Palmetto. I wish you hadn't asked me that. I don't know if Pete, if you're still in the chat, would you mind asking Nick what his website is? I want to say it's raretree.com. His YouTube channel is Homegrown Liberty. Now that's not his biggest push. His biggest push is in podcasts, but he does have the YouTube channel at Homegrown Liberty, and I'm pretty sure he'll have his website there. He's gonna start selling trees in January. But I tell you what, Palmetto, I will. If Pete's not here and can't get us the website, I will text Nick, or I'll get it from Nick, and I will get it to you personally. But I'm pretty sure it's rareplantstore.com. Thank you, Pete. I appreciate that. All right, Boring Sandwich. What was wrong with your year, Boring Sandwich? I hope the new year is better for everyone than the last. Are you just saying it's like a blessing? I hope your year is even better than the one you just had, or did you have a bad year? Because I had a really good year. Anyway, I hope you have a good year, a better year too, Boring Sandwich. The other tree-related thing I would really like to do this year, inflation. Yeah, the inflation was bad. But you're right, always good to do better. His phone started smoking. Tell your phone to not do that. It's addictive and it's bad for its lungs. I want to plant some hybrid chestnuts. If you don't know about the history of the chestnut tree in this country, nothing good has ever come from Japan. That's not true, obviously. I'm being facetious. But if you live in the South, pretty much everything that ever came from Japan is destructive. Japanese beetles, kudzu, holy hell kudzu, privet, there's something, bamboo, and the chestnut blight. That's 5 things right there. 5 plagues Japan has unleashed on the southeast of America. I was told that you are sick. You don't look sick. Bearded gringo. How you doing, brother? Dutch elm. Oh, did the Dutch elm disease come from Japan too? I bailed on Jeff for our assembly today because I wasn't feeling good. I had a bad headache and an upset stomach, and it was my turn to teach, and I didn't want to sit down and finish my lesson, so I called or texted you. I called you, Jeff, and you didn't answer. Yeah, goats do fix kudzu. Oh, my Dexter cow too, Pete. The Dexters eat kudzu. Shalom, Hunter Kirk. Yeah, I called you and you didn't answer, so then I texted you and you were like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Oh, so Big Country is saying he's talking about the Joro spiders. So we have the Joro spiders, Big Country. This is where they hit first, was down in Atlanta. And the bearded gringo and I, we worked together in pest control in Atlanta. So we have been dealing with these Joro spiders since they hit. And as far as I can tell, they don't eat the stink bugs. Maybe they do. Now, yeah, 'cause I'm about an hour and a half, probably an hour, about an hour and a half from Atlanta proper. So I have seen one up here, or two. But as far as I can tell, they haven't affected the stink bugs at all yet. However, if they, you look a little tired. I am a little tired, Mark.
Don't mention stink bugs around Keith.
Yeah, we got to be careful about stink bugs around Keith too, because Keith is a big fan of stink bugs. He'll get mad at us if we go after the stink bugs. Yeah. Oh, guys, if you guys haven't seen these Joro spiders, the bearded gringo will back me up on this. These things are the stuff of nightmares. they're like yay. They could be like 3 or 4 inches long, and they like this bright yellow, weird pattern on them. They look like a spider that would get designed for some horror movie about a spider. And they make these giant webs that look like, I mean, I've gone behind houses where there were so many of these spiders and they made so many of these webs. It looked like some hillbilly meth addicts were doing a haunted house to try to earn some drug money. I mean, like, just the stuff of nightmares. Spider webs everywhere, 2 stories up, and the whole backyard is you just can't walk. Hey, Tom's here. Hey, Tom. So these things are impressive, but the regular spider spray doesn't seem to get them right away. But they're Pete's asking what's up with stink bugs. You'll have to ask Keith, Pete. But for some reason, wasp spray kills them on contact. Hit them with one little shot of wasp spray, and they dead right away. I can spray them with this high-end spider spray we use. It's what's that called? I think it's Tempered. I don't know. I use this chemical called Tempered that's for spiders and scorpions. And I'll spray them, and they'll just scurry off, and I'll have to spray them for a minute before they die. Now, I'm not saying that stuff wouldn't. Hey, Aaron, Happy New Year. Camel spiders. What the hell is a camel spider? Try brake cleaner, that kills everything. I tell you though, Les, what I did see one time, I hear Keith is saying again, stink bugs eat Japanese beetles. I think it's a different type of stink bug. Our stink bugs don't eat Japanese beetles. As far as I can tell, our stink bugs party with Japanese beetles. They seem to get along very, very well. I was in Haiti back when I was in the Marine Corps, long time ago. And I was on post one night, guarding this base. And it was a 6-hour post, and I was bored out of my mind, and I don't handle boredom well. I looked over to the right in this guard post I'm in, and there's a tarantula in the guard post with me. Big, like size of my hand tarantula. Kind of freaked me out just a little bit, but not too bad. I pepper sprayed him, but he didn't. The pepper spray didn't seem to affect him. But whatever a camel spider is, it chases cats. No Japanese beetles in the outhouse. In the outhouse? Do you have an outhouse or our house? No, no, no Japanese beetles in our house or outhouse? I had an outhouse growing up. It was our only plumbing for a few years. My father is I don't even. We don't have enough time for me to describe my father to you. But if you ever met him, you would understand me completely. And when I was a baby, I was young. I'm the oldest son. I'm the oldest. My parents have 4 boys, and I'm the oldest. And I think I was 4 or 5. And Dad decided he wanted to build a house. He wanted to homestead. He wanted to buy a little piece of property and build a house from scratch. Like he cut trees down and had the trees sawed up and the whole 9 yards. The problem was he didn't even know how to use a hammer at that point. He'd never built a thing in his whole life. And so I actually was over there yesterday, or no, I was over there Christmas Eve helping him. The house still isn't finished. I'm 47 years old now. This started when I was 4 years old. House still isn't done. But for a long time, and my father, he always poor as dirt. And so we had to live out there while we were building it. And I think this was supposed to take 6 months or something initially. And when we first moved out there, we were living in a tent. And it was my mom and my dad, and then me and one brother. The other 2 brothers, there's a 6-year gap between the 2 sets of brothers. It's me, 13 months to the next brother, and then I think it's 6 years to the next brother, and then it's 11 months to the next brother. And my immediately younger brother and I were playing in the tent one day wrestling, because it came up one of those spells where it just rained for 2 weeks straight. Yeah, I mean, just rained 2 weeks straight. And so we were, we're kids. We're 3 and 4 years old. And we were wrestling in the tent, and of course kicked a hole in it in the middle of a monsoon that was lasting a week. And so we ended up having to, Mom and Dad both worked at a local Pizza Hut, and they opened and closed the place, so I had the keys. And we ended up moving into the Pizza Hut for 3 days. We lived in Pizza Hut for 3 days. And so Dad broke down and rented an apartment for about a year. We probably lived in that apartment for about a year. And then we moved. He got the place dried in. So he got it framed in and dried in. He got the bottom dried in. The top was still, it was a 2-story house. So he got the whole thing framed. He got the bottom dried in, and of course he had the roof on. But he didn't have it decked yet. He hadn't decked the floors. So he put it's a small house, even to this day. He's actually put 2 additions on it, and it's still small. So he put like just 3 or 4 sheets of plywood in the back corner, so that we could get 2 beds in there. Me and my one brother shared a bed, and then Mom and Dad had a bed in there, and it was just you had to walk across the floor joists to get to the back corner where the decking was. I don't know why he didn't put the decking at the front. I don't know. Anyway, so and then there was no plumbing, so for a while we used a bucket. And that was not working. So he pulled off everything else, and we hand dug I was young, so I don't know how much of this I remember. I may have some of the timelines screwed up. Yeah, after all that, Mom still shared a bed with him. Yeah, she did. So we hand dug an outhouse, and I just remember at the end, because as you dig, it gets narrower and narrower and narrower. It's hard to. that in the end they were lowering me down in a bucket, and I honestly don't remember how old I was at this point. I was not old, and I was digging and filling the bucket, and they'd pull the bucket up. Uh, I don't remember how far, how much I dug. You know, it might not have been much. I feel like we stopped because we hit bedrock. But then we had that outhouse for I don't even know how long, and we took our showers outside in a garden hose. But then mom actually ended up getting pregnant with the third brother, and I don't know what I was thinking. I was shooting fireworks at the outhouse one day while my mother was in it, and that was kind of the last straw. And it was like, okay, we got to have some indoor toilet. So Dad pulled off all of his other projects again, and put a little tiny bathroom in the inside, and we got some indoor plumbing finally, and you know, it was it was good. Uh, hey Ken, good night. Appreciate you staying with us through all this foolishness. But yeah, I don't. I know we had the outhouse for several years. I don't remember exactly how many years. It could have been as few as 2. Could have been closer to 4. I feel like it was in the 3 range, but I could be making that up. Uh, Whenever I talk about my brothers and I talk about these things now, my parents are, you know, they get all defensive, and they call it blood sandwich because another stupid story. My parents used to work. I mean, they still work. Well, Dad's retired, but when they worked, us boys would have to get up, and this is fine. There's nothing wrong with this. I'm not acting like this is a big deal, but we would make our own lunches for school, and I hated it. I hated making my lunch. And I still to this day don't. I mean, if my option is me make the food or eat raw hot dogs, I'll eat raw hot dogs. But I hated making my lunch. And I was making my lunch one morning, and I don't know how I did it, but I sliced my thumb. I just cut my thumb, and it wasn't a bad cut. It was just like this little cut, but when I picked up my sandwich and put it in the sandwich bag, the bread soaked up the blood from my thumb, and it spread out to be about 50-cent size for some reason. And I was not about to make another sandwich. I had made that one. I didn't want to make it when I did. I was not making a second one. There were times when I would just throw like a handful of pecans in a sandwich bag and just take that because I hated making my lunch. One, I got defects. I don't know if it was defects called my parents or if the principal had to call home, but I didn't, I woke up that morning and I just wasn't going to make my lunch. And there was for some reason, there was a bag of peppermint candies in the house. And so I filled up a sandwich bag with peppermint candies and took that for lunch. And it got someone from school ended up calling home and getting on my parents. And they're like, my father doesn't put up with that stuff well to begin with. But also, he's like, the sandwich making's in the stinking refrigerator. The boys had to make themselves a sandwich and throw some chips in the bag. I mean, they provided good lunches for me. I just hated doing it. So anyway, I took my blood sandwich to school, but to me it wasn't a big. I was such a, oh God, I was such an awkward child. It was awful. It was so bad. Oh, if I could see my young self, I would just give him a hug and pat him on the head and tell him it's going to be okay, son. Because I was just the worst. Yeah, oblivious to everything. And so I take my sandwich to lunch and I pull it out and I start eating it. And of course, some little busybody kid over there, what's on your sandwich? And I'm like, oh, it's blood. I cut myself this one. And all kids were puking. All, oh, teacher, that's got it. And so the school called hey, Sasquatch is here. And so the school calls my parents again, like, you got to do something about this kid with his lunch. And so now when they want to, like, sort of be dismissive of our childhood memories about how unique our childhood was. Like, oh, here we go, blood sandwich again. And it's just like, we had a unique upbringing. It was not a normal childhood. So I'm sorry, mom and dad. I love you, but you made choices, and this was the result. Fortunately, my younger two brothers are relatively normal, so at least they've got some hope. Uh, the Sasquatch had a good year this year. He got married, uh, and to a woman too. It caught us all off guard. When he first said he was dating someone, I got, oh, here we go. He's coming out. I'm gonna have to act like I wasn't surprised, or I am surprised. But no, he married a woman. Blew us away. Couldn't believe it. Thought for sure he was gonna bring us some little Mexican dude. This is my lover, Manuel. No, so the Sasquatch had a really good year, and he just got a uh, chimney installed in his house so he can try to get his. And now he's gonna be petty. That's all right, Sasquatch. You can be petty. Go ahead. It's all right. That was a cheap shot. I took a cheap shot at you. I apologize. He got Paul Meadows asking if he got a real doll. The sex robot. Boy, those dropped off the face of the earth, didn't they? You were hearing about those nonstop for a while. When was that? That was several years ago. Uh, uh, and you haven't heard anything about it for a while. I should look that up. I wonder if like all they went broke or something. That's probably hoping for too much. Let's see what the internet has to say. Honest FBI, I was doing research for a live stream. I didn't really want one. Well, they're 45% off. They're having a Christmas sale. So they're still a thing. I thought maybe they'd gone out of business or something. There's a coupon code if anybody wants it. Xmas. I wonder why it's not triple Xmas. Seems like that'd be better branding. So if you're buying in the U.S., you can get free gel breasts, free standing, free articulated fingers, free EVO, and a free tongue. This is some of the sickest shit. Oh, brother. All right, let's get out of that. Real doll is still out there for those of you that are interested. Now I have put Japanese sex robot in Zachariah's search history. Yeah, my poor FBI agent, we put all kinds of crazy things in his head. Yeah, it was purely for research purposes. I had no prurient interest whatsoever at all of my own. I was purely doing it for you men. You're welcome. I did that so you didn't have to. The real doll phenomenon is still a thing, but they are having a 45% discount sale, so it may not be a good thing right now. I wonder, like they say, alcohol is recession proof. That in hard economic times, people still buy alcohol, or they buy more alcohol even. I wonder what mechanical concubines. That's great. I wonder if mechanical sex dolls are recession proof like alcohol is. If in bad times a sex robot is cheaper than a wife, or the temporary wives most men get. Now, yeah, Sasquatch has to get his 450-pound wood stove into the house so he can hook it up to his chimney. And if you had a sex robot, she could help you with that. Oh, Sharon just emailed us pictures of camel spiders. I'll go look at those, Sharon. I can't do it while I'm on the live stream though. The whole thing will shut off. Okay, so I think the last thing I remember talking about that we're supposed to be talking about is chestnut trees. Yeah, Aaron's just going to stay single. Sex robots, man, they're out there. Chestnut trees. Oh yeah. So we were talking about Japan and how nothing good's ever come out of Japan for the South. Uh, and so there was this tree that was God's gift to America called the chestnut tree. You all heard of chestnuts roasting on an open fire. Chestnuts came from a tree, but it was one of the greatest trees in the world. They grew straight, they grew tall, they grew fast, they grew strong, they grew in bad, poor soil. Uh, and they had an easy to work but strong wood with a clear, straight grain. And they were very, very rot resistant. They were more resistant to rot than cedar, and I think they might be more resistant than redwood. I don't remember. Don't quote me on that. Uh, and they produced these chestnuts, and they produced so many chestnuts that it was said that at least on the eastern seaboard in the Appalachian Mountains, it was impossible to starve to death because no matter what, you could at least eat chestnuts. That's how many chestnuts they produced. Hey, good evening, Engineered to Succeed. How are you, sir? I'm showing your. I'm sorry, I don't have a. Oh, the Sasquatch is here. Sasquatch, you're the moderator. If you see some comments that need to get approved, feel free to approve them. And so, like, we're doing well. That's kind of what we're talking about tonight. We're just sort of reminiscing over the year that we had and our plans for the next year. So we had this wonderful tree, that and you could feed your livestock with it. The deer ate it, the hogs ate it, the cows ate it, the people ate it. You could build your houses with it. Just it was an amazing, wonderful tree. And like I said, it grew fast and strong and straight and tall. And I actually think it was the Chinese embassy. I think they finally traced down where it came from. The Chinese embassy imported some Japanese trees uh, to plant at their embassy, and they brought in a blight, a blight that the American chestnut just had never encountered before, and it wiped them out. And the chestnut was the dominant tree in the eastern canopy. It was the dominant tree in America at the time, and this blight wiped them out. And there's a grove left up in Canada because it's too cold up there for the blight to really survive. So there's a small little population of these American chestnuts left up in Canada. But ever since that happened, and this was in the 20s when it started, and I think it took through to like the 50s for it to finish. There's been attempts to breed a blight-resistant American chestnut tree. Chinese chestnuts are immune to the blight, but they don't grow anywhere near. They don't have all the other wonderful qualities of the American chestnut. They don't grow as tall. They're not as rot resistant, and that was the reason for the second big boom. Yes, sir, it was. And they don't. Their chestnut doesn't have as high of a protein content, I think. So I mean, you can plant Chinese chestnuts, but it's not the wonderful economic engine that the American chestnut was. But they've been trying to breed blight-resistant chestnut trees since then, and they're this close to achieving it on two different fronts. So there was one attempt that was breeding Chinese chestnuts to American chestnuts, and trying to get trees that had all of the characteristics of the American chestnut, but with the blight resistance of the Chinese chestnut. And that has gotten very, very, very close. And those are called hybrid chestnuts. And Big Country West Virginia is just saying how he's got some Chinese chestnuts, and they might even be hybrids. I don't know. Oh, hey Keith, I just got that email. Thank you. And then there was this other attempt that I haven't checked in on in about 2 or 3 years, but the last time I checked in on them, they were just taking American chestnut trees that survived the blight, because there's a few individuals here and there, and they're breeding them to each other, and they're trying to get a pure American chestnut that just has blight resistance. And they are getting close. So one of my goals for this next year is also will be to acquire some chestnut trees, either hybrids or possibly these pure ones if they're ready. Or actually what you can do is you can order the pure ones as an experiment to see if, they have saplings that they think might have the blight resistance, and you buy them and you plant them, and if they, they grow and they're blight resistant, then of course you send your chestnuts back, and they go back into the program, and they try to breed an even higher degree of resistance. Big Country, they're either Chinese or hybrid. The hybrids are very, very recent that they're starting to be available. So if you've had them for a few years, they're probably just straight Chinese chestnuts. But yeah, one of the things I would like to do this year is plant some hybrid chestnut trees, at least hybrid, or possibly even, what is it? I think it's the American Chestnut Foundation is the one that's trying to breed the pure blight-resistant trees. And if we looked up sex dolls, surely we can look up chestnuts. Here goes my FBI agent again, like, oh, chestnuts, what's the pervert looking up now? Yep, the American Chestnut Foundation. What do we got here? For those of you interested, the website is theacf.org. Let's see if they give us how close they are. Well, they don't have anything right here that says exactly how close they are. Let's look at news. Oh, gene editing, great. Oh, they just presented an award to Dolly Parton. I hear they're planting some trees in Carolina. All right, well, Burke County, North Carolina. So I know they're getting closer. Okay, the success of a B3F3 demonstration plantings varies at a number of sites in the Carolinas. Some trees survive after many years, others have died due to drought and unfavorable soil conditions, despite amended soil to encourage better drainage and root growth. Heavy clay soils often affect the growth of seedlings planted. So it sounds like they've got some trees that can survive. Yeah, I'm gonna see if they got any seedlings for sale. If they do, I'll buy some seedlings and plant them. Here's Shop. Let's see if Shop has any trees. No. It's all merch. I don't want merch. I want trees. Oh, that's right. I think you've got to be a member to go, a member to order to get the trees. Yeah, for $300 you can get seeds. I probably won't be getting real chestnuts. All right. Well, hopefully that didn't waste too much of your time. And Sharon is saying something about Harrison's Ranch chestnuts. Oh, we have a chestnut farmer in our area. Harrison's Ranch chestnuts. I buy them every year. They are not quite what I remember from eating in France. European chestnuts might be different. I know European walnuts are different than American walnuts. It's like a whole different, I mean, it's not a different tree, but it's like a cousin. It has different, different characteristics. And I know the Chinese chestnut, the actual chestnuts, the fruits, are different from the Chinese to the American. So if there's a European variety, I would assume it would also be different. But obviously, I don't know that for sure. That is just speculation. Okay, so that's some of my plans for the next year is to try to get some chestnut trees planted to go along with those apple trees. Wow, that was a long time ago that we were talking about that. What a rabbit hole. I want to keep stacking silver. I finally found a place down outside of Atlanta that I'm near not too infrequently that I can buy some silver rounds. I would really like to buy one a week and just start stacking some silver. Not so much for preps. I'm not really interested in the silver as preps. At least not the silver rounds. And if you don't know what the rounds are, it's like the rounds are 1 ounce coins, but they're not government issued coins. They're just privately minted coins. You really ought to leave Chet's nuts alone. Yes, but it makes him so happy. Yes, Pete really turned me on to the silver. The silver rounds in 1999 were $5.40 each. The spot price on Thursday was $23.40, I think. But I was talking to a guy who's kind of big into the precious metals the other day, and he was saying, yeah, look, the silver rounds are great for a store of value, but they're not great as preps because a lot of people don't recognize them and don't really know what they are. That if you're gonna stack silver for preps, then you want to buy old American coins, the old, pre-1964 quarters and dimes and 50-cent pieces and dollar pieces. Although, hey, Sasquatch, it was good to see you, sir. Happy New Year's. Jerusalem artichokes. We'll talk about them here in just a second, big country. So some of the Benjamin Franklin $50, they were silver up into the 70s. The Kennedy, yeah, junk silver. Thank you, Sharon. Was it the Kennedy? Maybe the Benjamin Franklins were $1 and the Kennedys were a $50. Now I'm questioning myself. Anyway, those were silver all the way through their whole run, but dimes and quarters were silver before 1964. And then there's some other, the old Walking Liberty $50 and yeah. Tell Mrs. Sasquatch congratulations. Halves were 90% until 64. But the Benjamin Franklin ones and the John Kennedy ones Yeah, okay, there you go. Thank you. I knew they still had some silver in them up into the 70s. But those are what you want for barter for preps, because those are the ones people recognize and will accept. And at some point, I might, you know, see about. Pete, were they silver through 64, or did it change in 65, or did it change in 64? I can never remember. Oh, Engineered to Succeed collects the 1920s peace dollars. See, I don't know. Those are also called numismatic coins. It changed in 65. Thank you, Keith. So the 64s are silver and the 65s are not silver. You know, coins that have collector value are called numismatic coins. I've just learned this recently. And I would like to be able to do that, but I don't know anything about them. I don't know if I'd be getting ripped off, paying too much. Yeah, Hunter Kirk, 5 pound gold bars stack real well. They stack like bricks. And then they also weigh, I don't even know how much a pound of gold. I don't. Oh my God. I was about to say the phrase. I was going to say the phrase, I don't know how much a pound of gold weighs. Oh, I drive myself crazy. Uh, I don't know how big a 1 pound piece of gold would be, but I bet 5 pounds of gold is probably close to brick. Anyway, yeah, so 5 pound bar of gold right now is about if I don't quote me on this. I think gold was $1,700 an ounce on Thursday. I can't even do the math in my head. 16 times 1,700 times 5. Uh, but 5 pounds of gold is a lot of money. Where's a calculator? Calculator. Okay. 16 ounces times $1,700 times 5. That's 100, $136,000. If I did that right. Yeah. So there's 16 ounces in a pound. So that's going to be 80 ounces. Let's try it one more time. 80 times 1,700. Yeah, $136,000. I bet that does stack nice. Who said that? Someone said that. Oh no, Keith says 5 pounds of gold is about $8 million. So what did I do wrong? Wow, my math is awful. Not only do I not know how much a pound weighs, but I can't do that with a calculator nonetheless. All right, let's try this again. There's 16 ounces in a pound. Oh no, Keith is wrong. I have a hard time believing that, Keith. I know how smart you are. You're way smarter than I am. Let's do this again. So there's 16 ounces in a pound. We want 5 pounds. Oh, I'm so stupid. Let's do this again. 16. Stop it. 16 times 5 is 80. Yes, the calculator concurs. And if gold is $1,700 an ounce, yeah, $136,000. Keith, I have finally beaten you at something. I will never let you live this down. I will hold it over your head for the rest of our relationship. I'm the genius. Uh, okay, define the pound. I don't think a precious metal pound has 16 ounces. Well, if you talk about 5 pounds of gold, I mean, is that not just a pound, regular pound? I mean, someone who's worth his weight in gold is worth. You know, Aaron, I have. He was saying I like steel, copper, and lead, and I think he's talking about bullets. Uh, but I've actually, and you guys will catch glimpse of it sometimes. Oh no, only in one thing, Keith. Only in one thing. I had a calculator and I won one thing. You'll see my scrap pile, and I just anytime I can grab anything that has copper, any kind of metal in it at all, but I prefer copper. I just grab it and throw it in my pile, uh, and it's my retirement plan. That's my retirement savings account up there. Is just scrap metal, and I actually will. I'll pull out now. I'll haul off the steel every once in a while. Uh, I will, but I'll take all the copper off of it and throw that in a pile, and then I'll haul off my steel and just take because if you get $7 per 100 pounds uh, for the ferrous metal, you're doing good. There was a point back in the 2010-11 period where I could get $14 for 100 pounds of steel, and life was very good back then. I spent a lot of time my retirement plan is dirt. I spent a lot of time back then going to all the places where I knew bunches of metal were been thrown out over the years and getting it out of there. And I made decent money doing it. I tore a trailer apart for a guy, and I made more money hauling off the scrap metal than he paid me to tear. And when I say trailer, I mean it was an old trailer house, and I made more money hauling off the scrap metal than he paid me to do the job. So that was pretty good back then. But okay, here's something else I'd like to do this year. And Pete has done this before. Yeah, clean copper is okay. It's worth more than aluminum. I would like to be able to smelt my copper and cast it into ingots. And I'd like to make 1 pound copper ingots. And I would actually like to be able to barter with them. Look, one of the things we got to do, and we have to do it as soon as possible, is we have to set up an alternative economy. We have to be able to barter and buy and sell with each other and bypass whatever lunatic economic system these morons are going to put in place next. Because those of us who are Bible believers, and if you're not, that's fine. I'm not judging you. That's God's job. But those of us who are Bible believers, hey, Baggins Cooter, T. Baggins Cooter. Cool. Hey, how you doing, sir? There's no need to reinvent the black market. That's brilliant, Palmetto Paratrooper. I hate giving you any credit, but that's brilliant. But those of us who are Bible thumpers, one of our core beliefs is that at some point, evil people in charge are going to bar us from buying and selling. And we are not going to be able to participate in this system, in the economic system. So why are we waiting until then to start setting up alternatives? And I'm not saying that I've done anything to accomplish this myself, but we have to start really putting a lot of time and effort and energy into thinking about, okay, how do we have alternative black markets? You know, and we have to be able to, because they're going to have a digital currency, and they're going to be able to lock out anybody they don't like. Pete's got some information for us. Gold is traded in troy ounces and not in pounds, especially in the U.S. and worldwide. The price of 1 troy ounce is multiplied by 12 because there are 12 troy ounces in 1 troy pound. What's the difference between a troy pound and a regular pound? Not that it matters. So a troy pound of gold is 12 ounces. Gold, silver, alcohol, lead, food, etc. And that's true. I mean, we can barter whatever the hell we have that someone else wants, but we got to have something that somebody else wants. Yeah, and services. But like we gotta come up with ways to pay our property taxes. They're actually what we have to do is we have to start advocating for laws that remove property taxes, at least from land. I don't think we could ever get property tax. We need to tax structures, and not land. And I need to do a video on this. And we need to be able to own, and obviously the powers that be don't want this, which is why it needs to be advocated for. That, and I bet we could get this done in some freedom-loving states where, okay, you know, your first tract of land up to X amount of acres doesn't get taxed. And so now they can come and tax the structures. You know, they can tear down your house if you don't pay for your taxes, but you own the land and you can't lose the land to taxes. And obviously you shouldn't apply to, you know, billionaires who have tracts of land everywhere, but normal people should be able to own a piece of property and that the government can't take away from them. And that means it has to be able to be free of taxes. And gun laws are important, and we need to be fighting for those gun laws, but we need to be fighting for these property tax laws too. Property owners shouldn't be paying for all of the local government services. So y'all start thinking about that, and when we start talking about our politics, we need to be talking about that a certain amount of land is tax-free, that you don't pay taxes on it. Keith is saying, I agree about the black market, which is why all of our money is being put into gold, silver, Bitcoin, and land. The central bank digital cryptocurrencies will be unavoidable. They will be unavoidable. But one doesn't have to do all one's business through them. However, refusing to participate in CBDC will paint a bullseye on one's bank. Yeah, and like I said, we're going to have to pay our taxes somehow. But there's going to come a point where your first 3 cars should be tax-free also. Your work truck should be tax-free. I'm not sure about all 3 cars. Yeah, get out of debt. Get out of debt for sure. But anywho, yeah, no, we need to be making that a plank of all of our political platforms. We need to be advocating for it, you know, to our political parties that we participate in, and talking about it to our elected officials. We need a name for it, you know, something pithy. You know, Palmetto's such a pothead. Is that running cars are the ones on the blocks? I ain't paying taxes on my junk cars. I ain't got that much money. If I had that much money, they wouldn't be junk cars, they'd be fixed. If I had to pay taxes on all my broken vehicles, I'd have to start selling kids off. Anywho. So what do we call this property tax exemption for your first X amount of acres? I think it should be up to like 40. You know, you should be able to have a homestead, you know, that can be self-sufficient, that can't be taken away from you. Inside the money matrix. This is the man we need to be talking to. Hello. All right, so we're talking about money stuff, money matrix. We want to start agitating. 60 acres would be better for a law. We call it a fantasy. Damn it, you're so dour, Palmetto. Where you have X amount of acreage that can't be taxed, so that it can't be taken away. You know, I was saying 40 up to 40 acres because in the old days, the 40 acres was considered necessary to support a family. Someone else just said 60 acres. I don't know that that's important, but we need a name for this so we can start advocating for it at the governmental level. And these would be state laws. So that, okay, so maybe they tax the house, maybe they tax the improvements. Maybe if you don't pay the property taxes on your house, they come and disassemble your house and haul it off. Or they come and lock the front door. That would be, you know, take away your certificate of occupancy or whatever and lock you out of the house. But they don't take the property, that you own the land, and it's not taxed and it can't be confiscated. What do we call this? You know, some kind of easy to say name that means all of that foolishness. So we can start hounding our elected representatives for it. Because this needs to be one of our big pushes. Because if you can have 40 acres and not have to pay taxes on the land itself, you know, now you can start having some flexibility. So, you know, like true ownership, or you don't want to say anything sovereign, but sovereign ownership, or Land Owner Protection Act or something. LOPA, Landowner Protection, LOPA. Will you commit to support LOPA? Are you LOPA friendly, Landowner Protection Act friendly? I don't know. I think that's important. Men, I have run out of steam. Let's see, what else do I hope to get this done this year? Liberty land ownership isn't bad. Oh, full ownership, or true ownership. Oh yeah, that's a really good point, Money Matrix. Yeah, they want us all so spun up and stressed out and distracted. True ownership. Not pure ownership. Real ownership. Constitutional ownership. Oh, big country. Nice. Pioneer Property Tax Protection, the PPTP, the PTP, the PPT. Those are some good, Happy New Year, Hunter Kirk. Well, Benjamin Neal, maybe you lose the buildings, but you don't lose everything. It's like I said, maybe you get locked out of your house. Pitch a tent. Dig a dugout, dig a dugout. You can still have your caches around the property. You can still, have a little tiny hut somewhere that they don't know about. If any of you want to see how to get prep gear or whatever else you need free from Amazon, let me know. I would love to help you all. Free from Amazon. Fee simple and leasehold are common. There is a third one I don't recall. Yeah, or pull behind RV. Good point, Aaron. Yeah, fee simple. I know back in the medieval times they called it bookland. Thank you, Keith. Happy New Year, sir. And if you had bookland back in the medieval times, shucks. Yeah, if you had bookland, then it wasn't land granted by the king, and so you owned it. And if you had land granted by the king when you died, it reverted to the king and your heirs had to buy it back from him. But if you had bookland, it just passed on to your it just went straight to your heirs and they didn't have to pay the king for it. I need a damn moderator. Anywho. All right, man. Well, we appreciate the hell out of you. Y'all have a happy new year. I hope you have a very blessed year going forward. I hope all of the works of your hands are blessed. And I hope the fruit of your loins are blessed. And when we all meet back here next year at this time, I look forward to all of the amazing things we can report that happened for us this year and that we were a part of. Pete, shalom, brother. Keith, if you're still with us, shalom. Palmetto, shalom. Les and Sharon. Oh, Sharon is under Les's right now. You know what, Sharon? The next time I'm going to make Les a moderator right now. Okay, Les is a moderator. And then Sharon, the next time you're on, I will make you a moderator as well. Because you guys are always here, and if Isaac can't make it like tonight, it would be good to have a backup, because I've been trying to go back and forth and approve comments and watch to make sure we didn't get any spam or anything in there, and it was distracting. He's gone. Well, you can do it for him. You're gonna get your own little wrench when you log back in under yours. So, all right, guys. Happy New Year's. We appreciate you. Have a good evening.